In this video, I'm going to share a few books with you that will change your business. Hey everyone, the first thing I want to let you know is I am not a reader, not even close. So if you are the same, number one, there's nothing wrong with you. Number two, let me know in the comments because I feel your pain. But for whatever reason, I did a couple challenges this year called 75 Hard. It's a physical, it's diet, it's mental, and it also includes reading 10 pages a day. And all of a sudden that got me on this crazy trajectory and I was just reading. Now, a lot of it's for personal development or business, and I came across a few books that I feel like I should share with you. Now, you don't have to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to be a business owner in order for these books to have any kind of effect on you. They're interesting, but if you happen to be any of those things that I just mentioned, these are certainly gonna have an impact greater than you would imagine if you have not heard of them or if you've not read them. So if this is your first time here, thanks for joining. Definitely consider subscribing. I'm really happy to see you. And my whole goal here is simply to help you if you are in the middle of your life somewhere between 35 and maybe 45 and you are looking for that change. You hate your boss, you hate your job, you hate your relationship, whatever it is, you are starting to think to yourself like, is this it? Like, there has to be more to it. So my whole goal is to just share with you some of the things that have helped me at 41 just be the happiest person on earth because I left my old life for a new one, and it includes reading books. So here we go. The first one is called The Long Game. This is a book by Dorie Clark. Now, Dorie teaches at Columbia Business School. She teaches at Duke Business School. She is a New York Times bestseller ×4, and I've met her a long time ago and actually interviewed her multiple times, had her on the Leadership Locker. I'll link that here for you. I've interviewed her a couple times. How I came across her was that it's called the Core Leadership Program put on by Deloitte. It's for veterans who are transitioning out of the military, and she was talking about transitioning, and her book was called Reinventing You. It was perfect. I stayed in touch with her. She wrote a couple books since then, and then now we're on The Long Game. But anyway, Dorie's fantastic. I'll definitely put a link in the comments for you guys. But the book is called The Long Game, and it's how to be a long-term thinker in a short-term world. Basically, it covers a lot of different areas, networking and business, but what I think the real point that comes across is patience. You know, we all talk about patience and how everything takes longer than you think it's going to take. And that's actually one of the main takeaways of the book. That line alone in the book floored me in the beginning. Now, it's important because she talks about people who have completely transcended their lives. And part of it was because they continued to experiment and explore their curiosities in order to eventually find that fulfillment. And the point here is that it's never too late to pivot and it's never too late to experiment. But when you are in a short-term world and the way people think in the short term, that is actually what's going to probably bury you and really set you further back than had you just been consistently making incremental progress. Now, obviously, I can't do a complete deep dive into each of these books, but what I'm going to do to make it easy for you is to just flip through it to see all the pages I have dog-eared or underlined, and I will find a couple lines that stood out to me because hopefully it'll stand out to you. So here's one we have that I have underlined like a jillion times. And it says, perhaps most important, the extra step of requesting clarifying information forces people to make an effort, which most aren't willing to do. Here she's talking about networking and when people try to leverage your network. So when people want an introduction, or if someone's trying to make an introduction for you to help you grow your network, we actually find ourselves wasting a lot of time. Like, I hate when people make a connection that doesn't need to be. Just because we know each other, have a mutual connection, doesn't mean that I need to be introduced to this other person. So clarifying questions on why. Okay, so if you're an inspiring entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, one of the things you can just do is, why do you think we should be connected? What are their business goals? And that way you don't end up getting resentful if you just wasted a half hour of your time with someone who had no specific questions to ask you. Let's see here. Okay, I came to realize there are 3 components to becoming a recognized expert in your field. This is fantastic. She's talking about leveraging the currency you have already. And one of those is content creation, which is obviously a must. Having social proof, okay, is huge, whether it's for your reputation, whether it's for your business, or whether it's just for your personal brand. And then lastly, obviously, is your network. If you have a strong network but haven't created content, you could start a podcast and interview your many friends. I think I highlighted that because I'm a podcaster. But either way, check it out. So Dorie Clark, The Long Game. Again, it's how to be a long-term thinker in a short-term world. Absolutely, it's just brilliantly written and is really going to force you to think about the time it takes and also give you some tactics that can help you withstand that patience that you're going to need to summon when things aren't moving as fast as you want. Shoe Night. Okay, I got this book when I went to go interview Andy Frisella at his headquarters in St. Louis. I went to First Form, and they have a library, and they were very kind enough to just be like, "Hey, here's our library. If you see anything you'd like, take it." As far as books, and they have lots of books with lots of copies of that same book. So I saw Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and he's a founder of Nike, and I've heard about it, but this book straight up knocked me on my ass. I was not ready. Here's the most important part of the book. There's a lot of business. You are going to just see all the just granular details of what it's like to just take an idea, to struggle, to have staff, to have payroll, to make international trips, to deal with taxes, to deal with lawyers, to deal with competition. I mean, it is deep. But the storytelling is off the freaking charts, which makes it consumable in big chunks at a time. Now, this book itself is 382 pages. I told you at the beginning, I'm a non-reader. Like, holy shit, this took me a long time, but it was incredible. Like, incredible. But Phil Knight just helps you visualize his journey. Now, it goes all the way up to right before Nike truly explodes, but the devil is in the details, and there are so many unbelievable takeaways of the risks that he took, the people that he brought along with him, the family conversations that he had to have, the absolutely just like pain that he went through, and the gratification that he went through while he was assembling, obviously, the conglomerate that we know today as Nike. So here, let me share a line with you. I just flipped to a couple pages that I had highlighted or dog-eared, and here's one we got. This is when he was having a conversation with his team about how bad things were, and he's just like, we're probably not going to make it. So he said he looked down at the table. Everyone was sinking, slumping forward. I was staring at Johnson. He was staring at the papers before him with something in his handsome face, some quality I'd never seen before. Surrender. Like everyone else in the room, he was giving up. The nation's economy was in a tank. A recession was underway. Gas lines, political gridlock, rising unemployment, Nixon being Nixon, Vietnam. It seemed like the end times. Everyone in the room had already been worrying about how they were going to make rent, pay the light. Now this. And he goes, I cleared my throat. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is we have him right where we want him. And I'm just like, the images that he paints and the pain and the agony and the decisions, the hard decisions and conversations that he has to have are just beautifully put into this book. A memoir by the creator of Nike. That's Phil Knight. That was number 2. Number 3, I'm certain you've never heard of this book. I'm certain of it. Okay, I'm certain you never heard of the author or never heard of the book. The book is called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto, and it's by Blair Enns, E-N-N-S. I'm going to read to you the table of contents, okay? And this book changed everything for me. Now, it is actually made for creatives. And if you hear in the title, Win Without Pitching, creatives, because they're highly commoditized, pitch. That's why there's Fiverr. That's why there's Upwork. People are always trying to do a lot more cheaper. This guy is trying to flip that shit on its head and say, you're not going to pitch. You are actually going to differentiate yourself. And by differentiation, you are going to be able to command a premium, and you're not going to be afraid to have sales conversations. You are going to get what you're worth. So in this book, he has 12 proclamations. So let me say it's not a table of contents. It's 12 proclamations. And listen to how they sound and let me know if this might resonate with you, because we are all scared of having those tough conversations, whether you're a business owner or not. We will specialize. Obviously, this talks about niching down, like becoming ultrally focused on something, not big picture, but smaller picture, reducing the fraction until you get where you want to be and till you know exactly how you want to serve, who you want to serve. We will replace presentations with conversations. He's saying, I'm not presenting shit to you. You know why? Because I'm going to spend all that time preparing something for you, a PowerPoint deck and all these different things, and you might not even care about it. I might not get the proposal. We are going to have conversations until we can have a verbal agreement that I'm the one for you or I'm not the one for you, period, point blank. 3, we will diagnose before we prescribe. What he's saying here is you don't go into a doctor and say, hey doc, here's what's wrong with me. The doctor has to do all their things in order to diagnose. If the doctor just took your word for it, then they wouldn't be a doctor. Okay. So like you cannot let clients, prospects, or people in a relationship, in a bad relationship per se, tell you what's wrong. You have to be able to prescribe it or diagnose it by literally asking questions and getting to the bottom line about what it is that they want so you can make an assessment. Okay. So don't let people self-diagnose. We will rethink what it means to sell. I think I've already covered that. Selling is helping, and he really helps there. 5, we will do with words what we used to do with paper, meaning the endless emails, the contracts, the terms and conditions, and all these different things. Like, we are going to use words. We're going to get to a verbal agreement where everything's outlined, where everyone has a very good concept of exactly what's going to happen, and we are going to proceed from there. We will be selective. This is meaning if they don't fit in who you're trying to serve, then they're gone. Period. That's it. 7, we will build our expertise rapidly. This just talks about all the extra you're going to have to do. Being brilliant in the basics is one thing, but you have to be masterful at something. And that means you are going to have to gain your expertise rapidly, building off what you're already very well versed in. 8 is we will not solve problems before we are paid. You can get paid to think, okay? I just was on a call yesterday with a prospect and they were telling me all about how their LinkedIn's fucked up and their video content sucks and they want to start a podcast and all these different things. And I was like literally just like kicking myself because they were a veteran and I wanted to help them out, but that's stuff I need to get paid for. I immediately diagnosed a couple of things that literally are probably going to change the way their social media happens and the engagement they're going to get. Okay, but we can get paid to think. We can ask a couple of things, but there has to be a flip into consultation so that way you're getting paid off the bat for your work. We will address issues of money early. This is literally about objections. Business people need to be very comfortable talking about money. The rookies are the ones who wait till the very end to talk about money. The pros are at the beginning be like, so for something that you're talking about just, at the beginning, I could assess what we're talking about here is between, 50 and 60,000. Is that within your budget? That way you're not wasting anyone's time and they're not wasting any of your time, etc. But things like that. So that's fantastic. We will refuse to work at a loss. That's a little bit more business centric and tactical. And then the last 2 are we will charge more. This talks about why you can command a premium, how you will keep a smaller stable of clients who are paying you a lot more instead of having a lot of clients who are paying you a lot less. And then lastly, we will hold our heads high. And that's simply overcoming, a lot of the self-doubt and just reapplying the first 11 proclamations over and over. So I cannot recommend that one highly enough. It is a fantastic game-changing book to just free your mindset. You can win without pitching. Last book is $100 million offers. This book has set my business on fire. On fire. Alex Hormozy just absolutely crushed this. I had seen him so often pop up in my feeds and his handlebar mustache and doing all the things. But a couple years ago, like being the new entrepreneur I was and just being kind of obsessed with the people I only knew, I looked at guys like him like, oh, that guy can't be crushing it. This guy's a joke. This is ridiculous. Look at that mustache. I didn't know that he was this business centric, but here's what I could tell you. Number 1, I work with someone on my YouTube channel who works with him. That was the first giveaway. I was like, okay, like, wow, like his channel's blowing up. And then I watched a couple of videos. I was like, holy shit. Then I started to follow his Instagram and just realized like, wow, this is some really fantastic content. And I love Instagram stories because it really kind of gives you a behind the scenes look at this person and what they're like. So him and his wife and business partner, Layla, are just absolutely crushing it. Why I bought this book when it was launched was very simple. I saw so many posts about it. I saw so many reviews. People were saying this is the best business book I've ever read. People were like, this is changing my life. This is changing my career. Like really, really high praise, big time reviews. So the whole concept of this is how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no. And I was just like, dude, what are you talking about? But look, he breaks down pricing just in a way that I think flipped my mindset. So that Win Without Pitching really helped me not feel like I was pitching. Long Game helped me think about patience. Shoe Dog was just like, wow, this is going to be a turbulent ride forever. And then this actually helped me kind of get over money. He wants you to make as much money as possible. He talks about, being down to their last few bucks essentially. And then all of a sudden, he's making, $100,000 a day type situation. It's insanity. He delivers it in such a manner that, it just has like really simple drawings. He talks about scarcity. He talks about dream outcomes. He talks about solving people's problems, all the different manners in which you can solve a problem, which I love. That helped me really kind of figure out a lot of different offers and stacks I could add. One thing he's talking about is value. And this value equation is pretty freaking amazing. So it says here, the dream outcome times the perceived likelihood of achievement, and that's over time delay, the time it takes essentially, the time delay to achieving that result, to effort and sacrifice. And here's just a really, really good example. Because he's in fitness, he gave a fantastic example. The value in getting liposuction instead of going to the gym for 2 years and losing a ton of weight to get that 6-pack, the value of liposuction is a lot easier. Why your dream outcome is to look thin, and then the perceived likelihood of achievement is very, very high. Why? Because it's in someone else's hands and not yours. So that is the top part of the equation. equation. On the bottom part of the equation, the time delay is 2 hours for the procedure, maybe, who knows, versus 2 years. So that's huge. And then the effort and sacrifice times the effort and sacrifice. There's no effort and no sacrifice. The only sacrifice is that you're probably going to be in pain after liposuction, but the effort you would have to do consistent hard work in the gym and a diet and counting calories and all that other stuff is significantly more. So this is very, very high value. That breakdown alone is worth this book. So I would absolutely check it out. And this is just fantastic. I'm looking at a couple things here. Enhancing the offer. Really, really good chapter on scarcity, urgency, bonuses, guarantees, and naming. I did not know there was this many types of guarantees, and he really, really helped me do that because a lot of people are really concerned about what their investment's going to do. So that actually really helped me in a huge way. Creating your Grand Slam offer part 2, trim and stack. Basically, you figure out all the different ways and you could solve your ideal customer's problem. And then you're going to just have a laundry list, and some things are going to look sexier than others. Some things are going to be easier to sell than others. Some things are going to be harder to sell than others. And he helps you kind of dissect what's going to work, what's not, and how to test. But this book, I will make $100 million one day. And I will absolutely, when I do, reflect on that book, and I'll be good friends with Alex Hormozy by then, because I'm going to have him on my podcast and I'm going to make sure that he sees me and my ascension. These 4 books, $100 million offers, Win Without Pitching Manifesto, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and The Long Game by Dory Clark are all highly recommended. I will link to them in the comments or in the description below. Now look, I really hope that you got something out of this. I hope you at least become familiar with the authors if you don't choose to read them. Like I said, if you are not a reader by trade or normally, then absolutely feel free to reach out to me. You could hit me up at richcardona_ on Instagram. Maybe we could voice message back and forth and I could tell you some of the things that have helped me. And if you are a reader, obviously these are just good things for your arsenal. I want to really emphasize to you guys, okay, like my whole goal is to help people who are stuck. Okay, it does not mean you need to be an entrepreneur. And I made that very clear at the beginning. All these principles are principles you could apply to just life in general. And I would never suggest these books otherwise. I would actually say the only exception is $100 million offers, because clearly you would want a product to sell. But Shoe Dog, Long Game, and Win Without Pitching are all lessons in patience, lessons in humility, lessons in confidence, and lessons in self-awareness. All things that, regular self-help books are not going to paint in the picture that you want, okay? We are not just trying to do some of the fluffiness. We are trying to talk to people who are experts, people who have been in the trenches, people who have endured far, far, far more losses than the average person, because these people want to win, and you win by failing. So let me know what you thought. Definitely subscribe and hit the bell so that way you get these videos in the long run, and it's just going to get better and better. Thank you, and see you next time.